Okay, so example 2 is a little bit more complicated. Not a great deal more complicated, but people still struggle. First of all, there are some extra things. There's like a coefficient here, and then there's a translation. And then there is something going on inside the angle, and I think this is what generally confuses people. So let's just start solving. Now, before you do anything, you need to get rid of anything that's not the trig onto the other side. You really don't want one side to equal to 0 because you are not factorizing. Factorizing is probably the only reason why you want to keep one side 0, but I can't really factorize a cos. So I'm going to move the root 3 onto the other side and then divide everything by 2. So I got to this. So this is where you want things to be, and sometimes it takes a few steps to even get to this point. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is that in this case, the angle is not x. The angle is x over 2. And there is definitely, that looks like a z, there is definitely more than one way to do these kind of questions when there is some transformation being applied to the angle. But this is the way that I do it, and feel free to do it your way. You need to own your method when it comes to trigonometry. Okay, so the angle is x over 2, and there is a domain here on x, but essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for the angle, and then I'm going to solve for x. Because if I just consider this whole thing, the angle, it actually makes it a lot easier for me to use a unit circle or any of the other methods, because it implies that there's no transformation. But there is one thing that you have to do if you're going to do that. If you're going to solve for the angle, so my first step is going to solve for the angle. If you're going to solve for the angle, then you need to know the restrictions that are being applied to the angle. So because x is between 0 and 2 pi, it means that my angle, so I think if you write it as an inequality, it's actually a little bit easier to see. So if x is between 0 and 2 pi, my angle, which is x over 2, is going to be between 0 and pi. So the restriction that I have on my angle is between 0 and pi. So angle, it's going to be an element of 0 and pi. You don't have to write a lot of these things, it's just me trying to explain my thinking to you. Right, I'm going to use a unit circle method. Also, I cheated and actually have a unit circle prepared. So we basically, regardless of which method, your step 1 is to still finding out what the base angle is. Now cos is square root of 3 over 2. The base angle is going to be pi on 6. Okay, so cosine of pi on 6 is positive square root of 3 over 2. However, so let's just draw that. So pi on 6 is like 30 degree. Oh, here we go again. Okay, so pi on 6 is this. And we are looking at cosine, so we're looking at the y, sorry, the x, I don't know why I say y and then draw x, the x coordinate of this point. So this length is going to be root 3 over 2. So if the cosine of the angle is negative square root of 3 over 2, it has to be on the other side of the unit circle. So we're after this now. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember this. I just did this. So we're going to try to find an angle that's going to cut this point or this point. So these 2 points, the angle that are created by them, it's going to give you cosine of negative root 3 over 2. I'm not sure whether that was a fluke or I'm getting better. I guess we'll find out in a second. I don't want to cross this thing out. Okay. I don't know whether I'm teaching maths or doing slapstick comedy. Practice makes... Okay. I'm definitely getting better. Even though if I'm really good, that's a lie. Okay. That's like, by lie, I mean horizontal. Never mind. So this is... I don't even know what I'm doing. This is pi on 6. So what we are after are the angles. Now, keep in mind what the restriction is. The restriction on the angle is between 0 and pi. So I actually could only go here. So I can't actually find this angle. because of the restriction. If the restriction is different, then I probably would go down to here, but I kind of need to stop at pi. So this angle, if that's pi on 6, if this bit is pi on 6, this is also pi on 6. So the angle is 5 pi on 6. Okay? So from my drawing, I know that the angle in this question, which is x over 2, would equal to 5 pi on 6. And then you can solve for x. And you need to trust the process. And if you have considered everything, then whatever answer you have is going to be all the answers that you need for that particular domain. So the answer is 5 pi on 3 because I simplify my fractions. So that would be example 2.